And now it's time for Joel's Gnomes.
Oh, hello. I'm Gunter. I'm one of Joel's gnomes. And today is very cold and very wet. So there's no real reason to go outside. So today we're going to learn about the true story of the first human to ever hybridize a plant. So when you go to your supermarket and you see all the fruits and vegetables, hold on. Oh yeah. And you see a beautiful garden uh, with all the bounty and everything that it provides. You really can't thank the Christian God to that with the creation. You can thank human hybridizers. And today we're going to learn about the first human to ever hybridize a plant. And his name was Thomas Fairchild. Now, to establish a little bit of background to Thomas Fairchild's world, in 1716, the European world was pretty much ruled by tradition and superstition and and blind faith, and that was the way it had always been. However, for the last 100 years or so, there were societies that did spring up that the Royal Society was one of them, and they worked with observation and experimentation in an attempt to understand the natural workings of the world and to try and make mankind's life a little bit better. But that was not the general thinking of the day. Now, in 1716, in an early summer day, Thomas Fairchild, the nurseryman, went into his potting shed and got a little bit crazy with the natural order of things. The world back then was, the plants were all natural species, and nothing had really changed for the last several thousand years. So he knew a little bit about the most recent experimentations, and so he got a little bit crazy, and he took the pollen from a sweet william, which has a mounded compact form, and put the pollen into the stigma of a carnation, which has double blooms and is really full. Now the result was called the Fairchild's Mule, and that was a combination of the best qualities of both plants. And however, it was not a natural thing to do. Now, his little project was very monumental because it not only proved, once and for all, because the jury was out before this time, that plants had sex. Now, it also messed with the natural order of things, which was blasphemy.
Blasphemy?
Because the Bible teaches us that God created light on the first day, created dry land on the second day, created all plants on the third day, and created the sun, the moon, and the stars on the fourth day. The sun was created after light. Anyway, so the assumption was for the day that all plants had already been created and no new species of anything could actually be produced. And Fairchild's little project proved that not only new species could be produced,
Blasphemy!
by man, but also it provided the idea that maybe God's abundance in creation wasn't really enough, and humans could actually do something to improve the natural order of things.
Blasphemy.
Fairchild had a friend who was a member of the Royal Society and saw the potential of this innovation and told him, go before the Royal Society and show him your findings. He agreed. However, a couple of days before, he got really cold feet and he tried to pawn it off as an accidental product of nature, where the Sweet William and the carnation were just accidentally grown in his garden and kind of bumped uglies in a natural way, which wasn't the case.
Esteemed members of the Royal Society, looking good. Okay, now here's how it went down, all right? Okay, in my garden I had a Sweet William and a carnation, and you know, they were growing like super close together, you know, and then, you know, the pollen and the stigma and the, you know, oh boy, is anybody buying any of this? It's a nice shirt. Brooks Brothers?
Now, poor Fairchild regretted this little experiment for the rest of his life. However, eventually the Royal Society got the truth out of him about how he did it, and they really took off with hybridization. And thanks to them and their experimentations, we have all the wonderful hybrids of fruits and plants, flowers, vegetables that we have today. He lived in perpetual fear of God's wrath for the rest of his life. He died in 1729, and before he died, he set a perpetual fund for a sermon to be read on the second day of Pentecost every year. It's called the Fairchild Sermon, and it's delivered in St. Giles, Cripplegate, let's see, where the worshipful company of gardeners marches toward the altar in pairs, dressed in fur-lined gowns and ceremonial chains, carrying their trademark silver spade, and they have to listen to a sermon on the wonderful works of God in the creation, where it's explained that man has never been able to produce any new species. So, rest in peace, poor Mr. Fairchild.